Player 3 was here this week after having been out of town and neglecting to mention that until during the session, but that's okay. He came there with a slushie and he got a brain freeze during the session, so he said, oh, so that's why Phoenix was out last time. He drank the water in the bugbear den and got a brain freeze. I'm not sure if that's canon, but it's funny, so we're gonna go with it. So Aoth marched to the throne to loot it and got an 18 on investigation. So he found 14 gold and 27 silver in like a secret stash that Avac had kept under the throne. Douglas and Albertus looted the other bodies, finding 20 silver and 30 copper, which they split evenly. They also found on the bodies of the hobgoblins 2 potions. One of them glowed with like an orange translucent light, little bubbles coming to the top, even though it was, room temperature. It was in a tall square bottle and with 5 notches in the bottle, and it was filled up to the 4th notch. The other potion was in this circular thin bottle, like thin in the sense that the walls are thin, like if you smash it, it's really easy to smash. The potion itself is this green-gray color, kind of opaque. Douglas rolled a 20 on investigation to try to figure out what these are, and so I also had him found some instructions. On the hobgoblin, he found, on a piece of bark paper, he found written instructions, and it said, and I'll read it exactly, orange potion, fever juice, administered to victim every 3 hours. Gray potion, weak mist, smash on the ground to create cloud. Now I should have said poison cloud, because as we'll see later, he just thought it was a smoke bomb. And yeah, that was a mistake on my part. Albertus went into the other room to check up on the hobgoblin. While passing through the stone mage's room, he saw a small door that he hadn't noticed before in the wall. So we looked in, and it's goblin size, so he had to kind of crawl in and look about. This appeared to be a bedroom, and there was a desk on one side. There were a bunch of geometric drawings on the desk, and also a book entitled Wilburn's Angles and Segments. So Aoth grabbed both and put them in his pack, and then continued to go talk to the hobgoblin. In the other room, the party went over to the prisoner, the human prisoner of the goblins who are now dead. So they went over to the prisoner. Phoenix used his fire powers to melt the bars so they could pull him out. I had him roll sleight of hand not to touch the man, get it without getting him. And he rolled in good enough, so the man was unharmed. The man was weak at this point, so Douglas carried the hobgoblin, and then Aoth carried the man. They left the dungeon, going back to the town. Now, at the town, in the town square, Danishlon from 2 sessions ago had found a soapbox, what he always wanted. He was standing in the crowd, which were armed with torches and pitchforks. He was saying, "These goblins have raided you long enough. It's time that justice be served. It's time to..." And then the heroes arrive. I really wish I had some dramatic music for this moment, because it was just like this amazing walk where, Douglas and Albertus were playing their instruments, and Phoenix was using minor illusion and firebolt to create a light show. Aoth was just standing there, looking imposing. And then Douglas dropped the smoke bomb. The party all groaned when I asked him to make con saves. Player 4 was a bit mad at me because his 20 in investigation didn't reveal that this is a poison bomb as opposed to a smoke bomb. To which I say, sorry man, a little bit caught up in the moment there. Anyways, the heroes emerged from the smoke considerably less cool looking, coughing and spluttering. The woman whose husband had been captured rushed up to him. Aoth set him down and she embraced him. The man looked kind of weak, and so Aoth tried to heal him a little bit with lay on hands. However, he was at full health. So, what is this weakness? The players didn't investigate, unfortunately. Damien's Spinecleaver was also in the crowd, and so Douglas found him and asked him about his hammer, how it was going. He was like, "Oh, yeah, Damien looked around for one of the people, and I had this really funny scene, at least funny in my mind, where he, called over for this guy called Badrin, and Badrin was like, "What?" And Damien was like, "Where's the hammer?" And then Badrin's like, "Jindler has it." And Damien says, "Where's Jindler?" Jindler, "I'm here." Damien, where's the hammer? Jindler, I left it at the smithy. Oh, then go get it. Okay, right. I had a moment of panic where I couldn't find where the blacksmith was. I thought it would be, next to the Church of Moradine and the armory, that would where it's supposed to be. But eventually I found it. It was out closer to the fields. At the time I'd said, okay, it's over here. That way the farmers don't have to, haul their tools all over across town to get their tools fixed, because most of them are in this area. Anyway, so Ginler starts running. I tell Douglas that it's going to be a while until she gets there. And so the party goes into the tavern and then starts to interrogate the hobgoblin. Now, I played this hobgoblin named Mardoon as being like highly confident and very proud of his lineage, of his being a hobgoblin. He referred to all of the people as humans, regardless of the fact that they were human or half-elf or dwarvish. He didn't talk to Douglas too much, so there wasn't a time where Douglas realized, wait a second, he's calling me a human. And then Mardoon would respond, you humans come up with such silly names for yourselves. You waste time on these things instead of doing what really matters in this world. Really, you're so full of yourself. Mardoon took every opportunity to insult the heroes. For instance, when Phoenix held up a piece of bark paper he had found on Mardoon, not the instructions, but something else, and then Mardoon said, it's called writing. Really, you humans are quite unintelligent. I'm beginning to think you deserve to die. However, the heroes were able to get past this this particular personality trait and get information they needed. The heroes held up a circle of wood with the letter L inscribed in it, and then 9 things carved into the wood around. They also held up a little necklace that had 3 things. Mardoon explained that the L means that he can read, and then the 9 fangs are to represent the 9-fanged council. The necklace, he said, was an indication of his rank, whereas the 1 fangs are merely soldiers. The 2 fangs are the ones who make sure the soldiers are doing their duty and not shirking. The 3 fangs watch over those 2 fangs, making sure that they aren't abusing the soldiers. The 3 fangs also do various diplomatic missions and scouting, like, for instance, he's doing with Diplomat, trying to get Aoth onto the side of the 9-fang council. The heroes ask, so is there a connection with is there like a, 4 fangs, 5 fangs? And to which Mardoon replied, no, that's completely silly. I can't believe that's even a question. They learned that he'd been coming to Aoth. He wasn't actually part of Aoth's raiders. He and his other 2 hobgoblin friends were going to Aoth's place to try to recruit him. And what was he recruiting them for? Well, they asked him this and he said, in 5 days, the 9-fanged council will attack this town, burn it to the ground. And, I probably should have said it a bit more dramatic way, like, in 5 days, the 9-fanged council will descend upon this pitiful town and reduce it to ashes. However, just saying there was going to be an attack was quite a bombshell. So after this revelation, and they learned that was all they were going to get out of him, I mean, he told them that, goblins use spears, and that was the last piece of information they got out of him. So Mardoon asked to be set free, and Aoth, kind of annoyed that there was about to be a destruction of people, he took his sword. Mardoon had been tied up with his hands like this, and then he cut off Mardoon's left hand. The ropes fell to the ground. Mardoon, he held it into his armpit. He was like, why would you do that? Aoth completely ignored him and went outside and told the commoners that there would be an attack in 5 days. There was a bit of a bustle, not like frantic, like, oh my gosh, everybody run, they're coming, we're all gonna die, but more like, honey, can you, let's go pack up the bags and leave forever, shall we? And so that my commotion was outside, and back in the inn, Phoenix had just this amazing reaction. He looked so traumatized by what Aoth did. Mardoon turned to him, and Albertus, Douglas, had been talking to Ginler, as we will see later, but Mardoon turned to Albertus and Phoenix and said, I will need to borrow your cloak to leave this place, otherwise they will kill me. And so they lent him a cloak, they let him out of the city. He was very, demanding and dominating. I didn't think they would actually give in to those demands, but no, they did. He gave them Phoenix's cloak back when they reached the edge of the town, and he said, you are men of honor. I thank you for your mercy. And then he walked off. So I gave Phoenix a good point for this, for being, empathetic and merciful. This also means that Mardoon is now a recurring character, which I'm going to like. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens. During the interrogation, Ginler came in and handed the hammer to Douglas, who was wrapped in, cloth, and presented it to him. He set it on the table and pulled off the cloth and revealed this long-handled with sort of like a box in the middle where it met the shaft, but turned into circles on the end. They had gold lining the contours of this, and on the shaft, it was carved in Dwarvish runes, Lawbringer, which is basically the more policeman version of a bounty hunter when it comes to dwarvish society. So that's pretty cool. Douglas liked it a lot. I later showed on the Discord a picture of the Dan TDM Tube Heroes minifigure. I said, ignore the minifigure, just look at the hammer he's holding. Yeah, it looks kind of like that. But anyways, let's go into the DM section. I'll right here, I'll show you it. And just look at the hammer. That's what it looks like, the kind of basic shape of it. So Douglas was really pleased with this hammer. It's, it's just a normal hammer, but it's a very fine hammer. It's very cool. So there weren't many, major mistakes in the session. The biggest one that I can remember, I really liked the interrogation. I liked playing Mardoon, just being absolutely dismissive of everything the heroes do as uncouth or unintelligent or silly or things like that. That was fun to play. He's a man of honor, but he's also very invested in the fact that hobgoblins and goblinoids in general are better than these filthy humans. Not only is he a recurring character, he also has his hand cut off. Of course, whenever you have a villain whose hand's cut off, you need to put a weapon onto that hand. So I was thinking, maybe we have a blade on the hand, like Azog from The Hobbit. But my dad suggested I put a flail on it, stick it in there and have it swirl around. That might be an interesting combination. But if you have any ideas of what I should do with Mardoon, then this is YouTube. You know the drill in the comments. But I think that's going to be it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next week when we will deal with the fact that there is an attack.